If Paper Mario grew up as a DreamWorks adult stuck in corporate burnout, it'd look like this. Good evening everyone, here's another Rapid Rambles where we took a look at anything indie, mod, or retro related with some gameplay and or first impressions. Today's game we're covering is Escape from Ever After. It's kind of like a mix-up of Paper Mario 64 if it took place in far, far away. Today's game was also published by Sleepy Castle Studio and Wing It Creative. They're published by Hypertrain Digital. So we start off the story inside a storybook, The Adventures of Flint Buckler, starring, Flint Buckler. He's a typical protagonist from the Middle Ages, where he's kind of like a knight or whatever, but instead of a sword, he wields a buckler, like a shield kind of sort of deal. So he's in a never-ending battle with Tinder the Dragon, where he's trying to defeat in order to save his townfolk. He has yet to be able to defeat him. He's already attempted numerous times, but this time around it's a little different. This time he goes to the Tinder the Dragon's castle in order to confront him one more time, and he is met with a corporate office.
David, you don't have to yell. David, can I just...
In the front there's a receptionist that reads Ever After Incorporated. It turns out this company from the quote-unquote real world is acquiring different storybook world and tearing them down and building up stereotypical corporate-esque buildings like corporate towers, apartment towers they can rent out at ridiculous prices. I don't know if they're also stealing resources like oil and shit like that. You know, typical corporate takeover, like they always hear the stories like in real life where they'll take down old neighborhoods that people are still living in, and then like they'll build up their new, like what is that, Whole Foods or some shit like that.
Yoga studios, gastropubs, and stores for dog clothes. We gotta get them out of here.
So in this case, the manager of the branch is Mr. Moon. He's also one of the victims of getting pushed out of his storybook, but for him, he's kind of like taking this in the chin where like he's all in on the corporate thing. And to be honest, a lot of these characters don't really have a choice. Put on that 9-to-5 smile and see where things go. Hopefully they can live to enter general ledger another day, or in my case, billing, receivables, and all that shit. Like I mentioned, so Mr. Moon is just a manager, whereas there is higher ups like executives and shit like that in the real world. Flint and Tinder plan to climb up the corporate ladder and take them down from the inside. They're assigned to help in the acquisitions of different storybooks, and then that's where like an overview, brief scenario of the story thus far. So like I mentioned, your main character, the one that you control, is Flint Buckler. He's like the main protagonist. He's very earnest, honest, stereotypical fairy tale protagonist, like he's a knight or whatever. He's a little bit sarcastic sometimes towards his partner in crime, but also eternal rival, Tinder the Dragon. He's like the reluctant co-protagonist. He's kind of sassy like Tui from Banjo-Kazooie. He's trying to regain control of his castle, which is why he begrudgingly agreed to team up with Flint Buckler. He's also forced to wear like a collar that diminishes his size and his power. Another character we meet like later on in the next chapter is Wolfgang. He's a loot player, he's really kind, he's gullible. I'll get back to him like once we reach that chapter. But the Overworld mirrors a lot of, like I mentioned, Paper Mario 64 if it took place in far, far away. There's save points, there's vending machines that give your health back if you pay like 15 gold coins. There's side missions, so the corporate office is the main hub world, but your office room is like your secret base, similar to like Pokemon Emerald, where you can decorate it and all that fun stuff. So starting off with like the prologue, like I mentioned, Flint is there to defeat Tinder the Dragon, and he is met with the corporate world. Flint initially attacks Mr. Moon thinking that this is just Tinder the Dragon's trick, and then he's thrown in a dungeon, and then turns out Tinder the Dragon is there, and they like go back and forth. They have their banter and shit like that, and they reluctantly decide to work together. So they make their way through the underground dungeon in order to get back up to the surface, and one of the first bosses you come up is the 3 blind mice.
What choice do we have? If it's not home, but you'll do just fine.
Well, you whoop their asses and then you head back up to the surface of the company, where you reluctantly decide that you're just gonna try to destroy the company from the inside out. So you guys get hired as assistants. Like I mentioned before, you guys are gonna work on, we are gonna work on acquiring all the other fairy tale stories. That's where it takes place. So that would be the prologue, and then once you get acquainted with all the other characters, like there's a myriad of fairy tales. There's unicorns, there's fairy godmother, there's like the oxes, toy soldiers, the Moon's assistant, a star. It's all very cute and very like well thought out, to be honest, and very well implemented. A lot of this mirrors, like I mentioned, other RPGs, well, later on RPGs as well. So that takes us from the prologue to chapter 1, where we get our first official assignment, and it's to battle the 3 little pigs. Well, to assist the 3 little pigs in the demolishing of their own book.
and he signed an eviction notice.
Three Little Pigs. But in this game, it's kind of the roles are reversed, where the Three Little Pigs are the selfish, greedy assholes, and the wolves, the place that you're trying to clear out in order for the Three Little Pigs to start demolishing and building up the apartment high rises, is like a village of wolves that they're very kind and very gullible. But you try to convince them in order to like fight back, and but it's like talking to a brick wall. They're like, oh, like you tell them like, oh, they're gonna come destroy your village order. They're like, oh, that's very nice of them. They're making houses in order to become our new neighbors or some shit like that, but they can't get it through their head. So, but there is one wolf there. His name is Wolfgang. Like I mentioned before, he's a lute player, and he's also kind of gullible, but not as much as like the rest of the village. He ends up becoming the bard of the party.
Forward now and fulfill your day. Your day.
He uses his bard similar to how like Link would use his ocarina, or like unlocking puzzles. And then like the thing I forgot to mention, the overworld, like there's a lot of miniature puzzles. I even got stuck on one part, like when I had to go to like the forbidden library in order to get a book. That's like after chapter 1, so I'll get back to that later. But you go and get the secret song in order to blow down the house of straw, the house of sticks, and then you go up against the Three Little Pigs. But it turns out by defeating the Three Little Pigs, you actually helped out the corporate office, because apparently the Three Little Pigs were stealing resources. So that's kind of like a damn. And then you actually end up getting a promotion by the end of chapter 1. But that's as much as a story that I'll spoil. And also, this is the first impressions. I'm barely starting on chapter 1, but it's very hefty, these chapters, and they're very like, but at the same time they're not padded. It has good storytelling and good pacing, but there's a lot to do and a lot to collect. But one thing is, it's not just about exploration, but it's also an RPG, so there's a lot of battles. And then I'm playing this on normal difficulty, so it plays very similar to Paper Mario 64, where like you have different action commands. There's your normal attack instead of like you're jumping on. So let's say Mario is Flint, so Mario usually has his two basic attacks, which is his jump and then his hammer attack, but instead Flint here has his buckler throw, and then he has his special attacks. So like in Paper Mario, your normal attack, which would be your buckler throw or your jump or your hammer, doesn't take any magic points or mana points, your MP. You can do that as many times as you want. And then for example, like Flint's buckler throw, if you press A, so you throw it and it hits the enemy and it flies back to you, but if you press A at the correct time, you get an extra throw. And then there's like some special, so there's like nice, and then there's like amazing, similar to like Paper Mario, where like you bounce on somebody, you get like a nice, amazing, a fantastic, or I forgot the words, but you do more damage as you press the buttons correctly. And also with the action commands, it takes place when you're defending as well. So when an enemy is about to hit you, and all the different enemies have different attack patterns, and then like, so it's like a different timing for each type of enemy, and there's a lot of variety. And then like the way they're positioned and the way they move, I'll get back to that later. I'll get back to the enemies later, but I don't want to jump around. So defending as well, like save attack hurt normally does like 3 damage. If you block it like within a certain time frame, you get like
Nice shot!
or whatever, and then like that reduces it to like 1 damage. But if you time it very perfectly and get an amazing, you can not technically sometimes nullify all the damage. But not only is there like basic action commands and basic attack, you can also use items. There's various food items that you can use to heal your different types of points. You can find them on the road. Some enemies will be holding items like cake, muffins, coffee, and if you hit them before they eat it, you can keep those items. Some of them heal your HP, some of them heal your MP, your magic points. And then you can even heal your TP, which is your, I'm sorry, not your TP, your SP, which is your synergy points. So I guess since we're talking about HP, MP, and SP and TP, we'll go down that list. So HP is your health points, how many times you can get hit before you faint. And then the cool thing about this game is you can also share HP if one of you guys goes down. And there's also revival items, but if say for example, Flint goes down and then the dragon Tinder has 8 health points, you can use 1 synergy point in order to split Tinder's health between the two of you. So Tinder will go from 8 health points to 4, and then you use up 1 synergy point, and then now Flint is revived and he also has 4 health points. That's pretty cool. You also use items like basic items like cookies, cakes, and like a variety of food items in order to heal your health points as well. You can also do, well, I'll get to the synergy points right now, but there's also other ways to heal yourself. So it makes the game more accessible but at the same time does not take the challenge away. Like I'm playing on normal mode, but I still died like once or twice so far. Well, I've gotten a game over, I mean. And then, but the cool thing, I know I'm rambling a bit, but the cool thing about getting a game over, well, not the cool thing, But the convenient thing is there are save points, which are these Xerox machines that I mentioned before in like the Overworld section, that you can save your game, and that's pretty much where you end up spawning after you get a game over. But the thing is, these Xerox machines are pretty much everywhere, so it's pretty convenient. Also, when you like complete like main parts of the story, it will also auto save, I believe. So there's that. So yeah, so those are your health points, and that's how you heal, and that's what happens when you die, when you lose all your health points. So moving on to magic points, these are used for your special attacks. So for example, like buckler, I mentioned you throw your buckler as your basic attack, but you can also use it when you do your normal attack. You can only hit your enemy up to 2 times if you get the action command correctly, but there's a special attack where you can hit the same enemy 4 times if you hit the action command on point or whatever. And there's another one where you can hit all the enemies once and then the first enemy a second time. That also takes up MP or whatever. And then like different party members have different special attacks. Like Tinder the Dragon, he has one where instead of just burning the enemy that's right in front, you're also burning the enemy that's in front and behind him. Where he also has this like ground pound where he like flies up with his tiny wings. Because I remember the color made him small, and then like he just slams his ass onto them, or just like this headbutt. It's pretty cool. And then but those all use up magic points except for the Tinder the Flame small fire, which is his basic attack, whatever. You hit like the first enemy, and that's pretty much it. You can also burn people with Tinder the Dragon's fire. And then your synergy points is, so the way you build up your synergy points is by completing action commands, like whether it's defending or attacking. It'll build up your synergy points. And then so far I have 2 synergy point attacks, which are like special attack. The first one for across all 3 party members that I have unlocked so far is restoration, where you get to heal 4 health of all the party members, whether they're on the field or not, and then 4 MP magic points or mana points, whatever you want to call it. And the second one is character specific, like ultimate attacks. You do action commands, like for example buckler. Depending on how many party members you unlock, it becomes more powerful. You put your buckler in a giant slingshot and you slowly pull back by repeatedly pressing the button, like whether it's like A or you press B a lot, or X or Y, depending. Since I have 3 total party members, it does decent amount of damage. I'm sure once I unlock the next character, it will do even more damage. But you play like a little mini game, for example Tinder the Dragon, where you're trying to catch the little flame flints inside your fire tornado in order to make it bigger. That's his ultimate. And then like it launches a giant fire tornado, which is his ultimate attack. And then your trinket points, so this is similar to badges on Paper Mario, and this is how you equip new moves, and so you start off with a maximum of I think 4 trinket points, where you already start off with your basic attack, whether it's the buckler or the small flame, and then you use up trinket points. Like say for example the buckler move that hits the same enemy 4 times, that could take up 2 TP, 2 trinket points, so that means you have 2 left. And then not only do they allow you to expand your move pool, but also there is trinket points for like, oh, each time you get hit there's a chance to restore a little bit of your mana, or each enemy you kill it increases your attack, or this one prevents you from being poisoned. So you can mix and match with the limited amount of your trinket point pool. So there's a lot of variety in this game. And then there's not only attacking and defending, but also tactics, so similar to other options like in Paper Mario, where you can choose to defend. To be honest, I haven't done this yet, but I'm guessing it's like you become immune to the next attack, or you automatically get the bonus from the button command in defending. You can encourage your team, that it automatically increases your SP. So by nailing the action commands or encouraging your team, that's how you raise your SP in order to use your ultimate attack. And then you can research, similar to what Goombella does in Paper Mario 1000 Year Door, where she gives you all the info. And then so the thing is, when you first run into like a certain type of enemy, they doesn't show their health bar until you research them. And then once you research them, every time you battle the same type of enemy, you always see their health bar. That's pretty cool. And then the last tactic is to run away. I haven't used it yet because I'm not a little bitch, so I'm just joking. But so even with all that battling, it also feels rewarding because you also level up. So when you defeat your enemies, you raise your XP, and it's always out of a pool of 100. And then this is how you raise your max HP, mana points, or your TP. You choose one of the 3, similar to, like I said, Paper Mario. I know I'm sound like a broken record. You choose one of the 3. And I know there's like a wolf in chapter 1 in one of the houses that you can take back. Say for example, you choose to only upgrade your health points this whole entire time, and you find out, God, like my mana points suck. You can take back one of those upgrades and then transfer it over to your magic points. The first time it's free, which I haven't done yet, yet. But apparently you have to pay him with something. I forgot what it was, but yeah, so be a little bit careful what you choose. Don't just pump all your experience points into one category. So you either upgrade your HP, MP, or TP. And then in order to increase your max SP, is like basically you just have to progress through the story. The more party members you add, the more max SP you can hold. And I think right now I'm at a total of 3 because I have 3 party members. And then another thing where you can upgrade is your special moves, like your buckler barrage, where you hit the same enemy. Oh, so this is a good example. So your ink bottle, where you're gonna be collecting ink bottles throughout the map and stuff. You eventually go back to the corporate office and then you talk to like this Viking lady named Helga, where you give her the ink bottles and then she upgrades one of your special moves. So for example, Flint buckler barrage, where he hits one enemy 4 times, but now you can hit that one enemy up to 5 times. Or for example, Tinder the Dragon, if an enemy hits with his fire, the enemy's holding a shield. Normally with Tinder, like you just burn his shield the first time and then you'd have to hit him again a second time. I guess with the upgrade, you'll burn through his shield and burn the enemy in that same turn. And speaking of enemies, there's like a button. There's like all the storybooks put together, and I'm sure I haven't even seen all of them yet. There's Humpty Dumptys, unicorns, metal pigs, toy soldiers, garden gnomes, tree monsters, carrots, tomatoes, mushrooms, and more. Like I'm surprised we haven't seen Shrek yet or something. But and then for the bosses, you don't really fight Mr. Moon. Like you see it like in a cutscene where you hit him with the shield and then he easily deflects. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be one of the penultimate bosses. And then the 3 blind mice were your first boss that you fight in the dungeon because they're trying to steal Tinder the Dragon's treasure or whatever. And then like just kind of make some side money, but he ends up defeating them. And they become kind of like an ally like midway through chapter 1. And then the 3 little pigs, which they're the main antagonists of the end of chapter 1, like the wolf and the 3 little pigs story arc. And then my prediction for the real world final boss is probably gonna be like Lord Farquaad.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Or something like that. And then on the top of all that, there's collectibles. There's ink bottles that I meant to use to upgrade your special moves. There's sun tokens that you use to buy like special items. And then there's a variety of costumes. Actually, I forgot to touch on that in the overworld section, but you use some of these costumes in order to progress in the story. You need a construction worker's vest and helmet in order to get into a construction site, in order to defeat the 3 little pigs. There's like a suit and a fedora they use in order to do a side mission. And then there's your random coins that you use to purchase like a variety of items. These are really collectibles. They're just like coins like in Super Mario. And speaking of that, I've noticed the coin sound effect sounds a lot like one of the Super Mario games. And then the jumping sound effect sounds a lot like it came out of a Sonic the Hedgehog game. Speaking of sound effects, on top of this amazing gameplay is an even more fantastic OST. The original soundtrack for this game varies from like jazz music to elevator music, whether you're battling one of the bosses or just traversing the corporate headquarters. The songs are very immersive and match the tone for each setting. That's what I've played so far. Like I put in a good amount of hours into this game, and I think I'm not even halfway through. It's been a lot of fun, and it's weird. Like it's modern, but at the same time, it gives me a lot of nostalgia for the N64. So I'm really enjoying it. So let me know what you think. Have you played Escape from Ever After? Let me know what indie or mod you want me to check out next. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a nice night. Bye.